The Philadelphia Eagles crushed the New York Giants yesterday at Lincoln Financial Field in those beautiful and clean Kelly greens. And it's a Victory Monday here on Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. I know you all enjoyed your Sundays, and I hope your weeks are off to a fantastic start as well. And if you loved seeing the Birds beat down on the G-Men, especially with what happened a couple of weeks ago on Thursday night, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Bird Gang, I should be seeing at least 1,000 likes on this show. And what I loved about this win, what's so great about it, it was the most complete win that the Eagles have had all year. Offense, defense, special teams, they were dominant from start to finish. And don't get me started on the officiating. I think it was one of the worst officiating games of the NFL season so far, but it impacted both teams. And I thought the Eagles really grabbed this game by the neck right from the start. I mean, shoot, second play from scrimmage, Saquon Barkley, 65 yards to the crib. Film study on that play coming up here in just a moment. And you look at what the Eagles accomplished on offense, a far cry for how much they struggled in Week 6 in the Meadowlands at MetLife against this same Giants defense. They put up 427 yards of total offense, 7.5 yards per play. Jalen Hurts was surgical and efficient, 15 of 20 through the air, 4 touchdowns, no giveaways. And this is really the biggest thing here. The Eagles run it 33 times for 276 yards. Saquon Barkley, Tank Bigsby, both going over 100 yards. It's the first time the Eagles have had two backs over 100-plus yards in 12 years. On the ground, this is a ground game that had not gotten going all year long. They average 8.4 yards per carry. Don't turn it over at all, and they win time of possession by about 8 minutes. This Giants offense against the Eagles, they fared very well as the Eagles played so soft back in Week 6. 4.9 yards per play, 246 yards of total offense. Jackson Dart, he is a stud. I like him, but he was held to 178 yards through the air. The Giants only run it 3.2 yards per carry on the ground. Prayers to Cam Scadaboo. I hope that he's okay. Great job by the 70,000 fans on hand at the link, giving him a round of applause and a standing ovation as he got carted off. A brutal injury for him. And then you look furthermore at the team stats. This was a beatdown, ladies and gentlemen. The Eagles had 10 more first downs than the Giants, 23-13. They put up 427 yards to the Giants, 246. Yards per play, big difference there, 7.5 to 4.9. The rush yards, 276 to 68. And the Eagles harassed Jackson Dart all day. Against the Giants back in Week 6, they couldn't get to him. And if they did get to him, they couldn't finish. They may have had pressures, but they couldn't sack him. They couldn't get him on the ground. They did that yesterday as this defensive line was swarming. Moro Ajomo now has 4 sacks to lead the team. Jalyx Hunt got on the board with the sack. Jalen Carter was dominant, and you saw how much of an impact Jalen Carter had in this game compared to when he did not play in the first matchup between these two teams. Another great element of this Eagles victory, the Eagles now have some great vibes, they have confidence, and they're feeling as though they're hitting their stride going into the bye week. Now they're going to come out of the bye week. Reinforcements are coming back and returning. They now have an identity seemingly on the offensive side of the ball. They're feeling good about what they've accomplished the last 2 weeks on offense. Their pass defense continues to be stellar. They were finally really good against the run as well. Now you play the Green Bay Packers coming out of the bye in a game that by season's end could legitimately determine who the number 1 seed is in the NFC, who has home field advantage. And I've said this so many times over the last few weeks. Obviously, when the Eagles lose, when they play poorly, I have to dissect that. I have to analyze it. And when the Eagles deserve to get ripped, I'm going to rip them. When they deserve to get praise, I'm going to give them praise. But this is a team under Nick Sirianni since 2021 that's kind of felt things out for the early portion of the year, and they peak late as compared to early, and it takes them a little while sometimes to find their groove. This is feeling a lot like the 2024 Eagles right now. Hopefully they can continue to keep that going. And I love what Saquon Barkley said after the game, that when the Eagles lost to the Giants back in Week 6, the Eagles saw how the Giants celebrated. That was the Giants' biggest regular season win in years. I'm not even kidding. That was their biggest win since they beat the Vikings in the playoffs a couple of years ago in 2022, when they then got dump trucked by the Eagles at the Link when Philadelphia had that number 1 seed in the NFC. And to see the Eagles thoroughly beat down on the Giants in the manner that they did it, beautiful. And obviously Saquon went off against his former team. This was also big. Speaking of Saquon, finally, the Eagles got the run game going, and they did it in a dominant fashion. Saquon Barkley had his best game of the season, 14 carries, 150 yards, 10.7 yards per carry, multiple explosive runs, including the 65-yarder on the second play of the game, house call, and he had those 2 total touchdowns, one on the ground, one through the air, as he was completely uncovered into the flat as Jalen Hurts was able to find him for that second score. And then how about the play yesterday of Tank Bigsby? Howie Roseman was getting ripped for giving up 2 late-round picks for Tank Bigsby. He hadn't done anything all year. He got 1 carry against Minnesota, made the most of it. He picked up 11 yards. And then he got 9 carries against the Giants. He ran hard. He ran with brute force. He ran physical. He puts up 104 yards on the ground, 11.6 yards per carry, a long of 29, and maybe the most impressive run that he had, the 17-yarder when he was able to break tackles and carry the pile. And what I liked from the Eagles the last 2 games have made 2 marquee adjustments on offense. They've put Jalen Hurts under center more, and they've used Fred Johnson as a 6th offensive lineman in their jumbo package. And with Fred Johnson on the field against the Giants yesterday, he was on the field for 12 of the Eagles' 33 running plays. When he was that 6th offensive lineman, the Eagles ran for 129 yards on those 12 runs. That was good for a yards per carry of 10.87. I think the Eagles have found something here, and Kevin Patullo deserves a lot of credit for that. And right away, we saw big-time results when the Eagles went jumbo and heavy. Let's do a little bit of a film study here. Second play of the game. This was the Saquon Barkley 65-yard rushing touchdown. You see how the Eagles have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 offensive linemen with Jalen Hurts under center, Saquon Barkley the lone tailback. And what I like about this play is how the Eagles were able to block it up initially, but by going big and heavy, it also allowed Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson to climb to that second level as we switch to slide number 2. This is also fantastic vision for Saquon because he's able to bounce this run to the left. And look at how Lane and Landon are able to climb to that second level. They're able to block their guys. Jordan Mailata with a great seal block here. And that's going to open up the hole for Saquon. And as we go to the next sequence of this play, you're going to see how Saquon Barkley is eyeing the safety here. This is Tyler Nubin. He's in a pretty good position to make this tackle on Saquon. Also, a fantastic block on the edge by Devontae Smith. He's a fantastic pass catcher, but he deserves a lot of praise for what he does as a run blocker. Just plays the game the right way. And there are only a couple of backs in the NFL who are going to be able to turn this play at this angle with the safety into a touchdown. And Saquon Barkley is one of those players. And it might honestly be him and Jonathan Taylor, who I think is in the running for Offensive Player of the Year, who can actually turn this play into a score. Saquon is able to leave Nubin in his rear view, and he completely dusts him here. Again, Nubin had an angle. He was in a position to make the play, and then Saquon was able to kind of push that run toward the sideline. House call, 65-yard score. And look at Devontae Smith here as well. He knew it right here that Saquon was taking that ball to the crib, and Saquon's at the 50 here. He still had to run 50 yards to pay dirt. So this jumbo package for the Eagles, they've used it the last 2 weeks to high levels of success. Against Minnesota, that was the 79-yard play-action shot play from Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith when Fred Johnson was that 6th offensive lineman. And what happened when the Eagles were doing that, the safety started to creep up. Well, on that Saquon run, Nubin stayed back. Then he tried to come up to make the tackle on Saquon, and Saquon said, night-night, deuces, see ya. What I also loved about this victory, point number 3. Wow, we're witnessing something special here. Jalen Hurts is straight up cooking right now. Against the Giants, highly efficient, knew where to go with the ball, and he was surgical. 15 of 20, 179 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and a quarterback rating of 141.5. In his last 2 games, against Minnesota, against New York, 505 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, no picks. And I'm here to say, and we talked about this last week as well, before Hurts did this against the Giants, he deserves to be in the MVP conversation. He heard and felt the noise after he played very poorly against the Giants, and he's responded in a big way. Hurts now has 20 touchdowns to 2 turnovers this year. He has the most touchdowns of any player in the NFL. He is tied for 3rd in passing touchdowns and passer rating. The haters try to tell me that he can't throw. He's tied for the most wins in the NFC with Baker Mayfield, but he beat Baker head-to-head, and he took down Baker. He is also 5th in completion rate at 70.2%. Jalen Hurts is playing MVP-level football. People try to tell me that he's carried. Well, yesterday he did that without Cam Jurgens and without A.J. Brown. And people are also going to say, it's the Giants. They have one of the best front fours in the NFL. You think we're done here on the show? No way. More to get to here on the other side for today's Monday edition of Philadelphia Eagles Now. But let's get to our sponsor, our friends at PrizePicks. They've been supporting the show for a really long time, and you can support us, you can support them by signing up today with America's #1 fantasy sports app. There are millions of users already signed up all across North America. You should become the next person to sign up. Pick, predict, play. Easy and exciting daily fantasy. You can get your picks in less than 60 seconds. All you have to do is choose more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win some big-time money. PrizePicks also has some new features. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Jalen Hurts' pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, for example? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. Follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. Here's a 3-pick power play for Monday Night Football. Kansas City, Washington. Deebo Samuel, more than 49.5 rushing and receiving yards. No Jane Daniels, so Washington could rely on him a lot. Marcus Mariota, less than 195.5 passing yards. Patrick Mahomes, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. We move forward on the show. This is a welcome development here, and this is a great sign for this Philadelphia Eagles defense under Vic Fangio. The Eagles have continued to support this player. They have said that they believe in him. Howie Roseman surprisingly used a 3rd-round pick on him. He was excellent last year. Slow to start this year, but he's really starting to turn it on. Who am I talking about? Jalyx Hunt is really coming on for this Eagles defense. The Eagles have needed their edge rushers to produce a little bit more, and Jalyx Hunt is really developing before our very eyes. He started to find a groove and catch a stride around the halfway point of last year. He was excellent in the playoffs. Slow to start this year, but over the last couple of games, he has been dominant. He finally recorded his first sack against the New York Giants. He has 28 pressures on the year, 16 of them in the last 3 games alone. And against the Giants, he had his best game in an Eagles uniform. 9 pressures, a sack of Jackson Dart, and that's coming off the heels of what he did against Minnesota when he had that pick 6. Using that safety background as he started his college career as a safety at Cornell to drop back in coverage in that robber spot, read the eyes of Carson Wentz, intercept that pass, take it to the crib. And then as a pass rusher against the Giants, he was causing havoc all day. This is big because reinforcements are coming for the Eagles coming out of the bye. Nolan Smith going to come back. Brandon Graham going to come back. And that's going to make this Eagles pass rush even better. And so these players are set to join this surging Eagles defense after the bye week. They're getting healthier, they're getting stronger, they're getting deeper. Nolan Smith is the best pass rusher on this Eagles defense, and he's really good against the run. He's also an emotional leader for this team. Brandon Graham last year was excellent before that triceps injury. Came back in the Super Bowl, and he was really good in that game. His snaps were limited because he came back in record time from that triceps injury, but good against the run. He can get after the quarterback. He's going to give the Eagles 10 to 20 snaps per ball game, and then Jacorian Bennett is going to give the Eagles more depth at the corner spot. Keely Ringo played well yesterday. Let's give him a shout out there, and let's give props where props are due. We're forgetting about Adoree Jackson, who's been hurt, and that's fine because I think Jacorian Bennett is a better player, and you might be better in the secondary with him as well. So that brings me to this point. You know, the deadline is coming up November 4th. I'm recording this show on October 27th. The trade deadline is after Week 9 going into Week 10. The Eagles have this bye week to determine whether or not they want to make a move. And if the Eagles do make a move, I think it has to come at pass rusher. But with Jalyx Hunt balling out like he's been, with the interior of this Eagles defensive line being one of the youngest and best interior defensive lines in the NFL, with Nolan Smith, with Brandon Graham coming back, does Howie Roseman have to give up resources at the deadline? You can see a scenario and a reality where Howie doesn't make a move. Now, will he be able to help himself? Maybe not. And if he does make a move, you have a lot of faith he's going to be able to make a move that will benefit this Eagles team. But the Eagles are in a spot right now where they're playing well, and if they don't want to give up valuable draft picks, I'm not sure that they have to. Another positive from the last two games, as the Eagles have ended that two-game skid, and they've responded by winning back-to-back games. Kevin Patullo is improving. I told everybody, hold your horses, be patient, don't panic yet. He's a first-time play caller. Give him some time. The Eagles have made some nice adjustments. He's had some creative play calls. The Eagles, with their assignments as players, are executing a little bit better. I like what the Eagles are doing from a personnel and scheme standpoint. And the last two games, this offense has been really, really good, and Kevin Patullo deserves credit for that. And let's round out with this. Eagles fans love A.J. Brown. Easy to see why. He's the best wide receiver in franchise history. And despite people saying he's wasting his career with the Eagles, he's been an all-pro every year that he's been with the Eagles. And I know that a lot of you won't like this, but if things are so bad between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, and they're contentious to a level where they can't coexist, as A.J. over the weekend deleted previous tweets of him praising Hurts from several years ago, the Eagles yesterday showed they can survive and thrive without A.J. Brown. The pass game was efficient. The pass game was explosive. Jalen Hurts was spreading the ball around. The Eagles ran for 274 yards and had two players rush for 100-plus for the first time in 12 years. A.J. Brown makes them better. A.J. Brown is one of the best players in the NFL. But again, if it gets to a point where he doesn't want to be with the Eagles anymore, and the Eagles can't stand him anymore because of the drama that he causes, despite the Eagles being 6-2, and they want to trade him away, and a team wows them with an offer of like 2 first-round picks, the Eagles showed against the Giants they can survive and thrive without AJ. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. I'm giving you so much Eagles coverage here, additional free Eagles coverage over there as well.